So last week we were talking about binding, and I didn't bring in the regular binding because we're going to do some fun binding today. But one of you asked, they like the idea of doing bias binding, which we showed last week, but they don't know how to cut it. So we thought that we've done this video before, but we thought we'd just do a refresher for you today. So first of all, you have to find your bias. So to find your bias, we have this. Let me just put this back together. This was already folded. So just a little mini lesson here. This is your straight of grain. So a lot of times when you cut your borders, you should cut your borders straight of grain because there is no stretch. If you snap it, you're going to get this snap. This is your cross grain. Now there's a little stretch to your cross grain, but not much. So when you find your bias, that is a 45 angle to your selvage. So here's this big piece of fabric, and I'm going to just simply fold my cut edge down to meet the selvage. So here's what it looks like. I left the selvages on so you can see. I didn't trim all my threads off from when I pre-shrank it. So let me get rid of those. Those are distracting. So you folded your cut edge to your selvage. Let's see what that looks like laid out. And this is a great big piece. So here is your 45. You folded it down, met the edges. Here is your 45. This is your true bias. So when you pull on this now, there's your stretch. Look how can you see how that stretches? A lot of times when you're making clothing, they have you cut your fabric on the bias so it has give when you're wearing it. Sometimes they don't want you to do that either. So again, then how do I cut this? So one of the simplest ways to cut your bias is just to trim this little fold off and lay your ruler down on your edge and continue to cut your strips. So you can find your 2.5 or however you're going to cut it. So once you've cut this little teeny strip off, then you can continue to cut your strips in one long piece. If you want to fold it so that you don't have this long reach and you have a lot of continuous pieces, there's a really cool way of doing that. So I took a stripe just to show you. I ironed it this morning. So let's open it back up. Here's my straight of grain. Here's my selvage. And this is about, this, I cut enough so that when I ironed it, I had the same length as width. It doesn't have to be that way, but I did that to show you here this morning how simple this really is. So here's my big piece of fabric. I'm going to take this top corner and I'm going to fold it down to my selvage edge. See, there's a selvage, and I'm forming this big triangle. So now I'm going to turn it. It doesn't matter which side up. I'm just going to do it this because now I have my great big triangle here. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to fold my edges in. Someone said this looks like making the old 50s diapers fold. I'm going to fold this edge in. To me, it's like making a pocket envelope or a purse. So the first thing I'm going to do now, make sure these are lined up. Make sure these are, see how all my little folds are lined up? And this is your stretch. See, there's your stretch. Then I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to cut off just a little bit. Here, let's just line it up so that it's straight. I'm just going to cut off, and I'm going to cut off more than I would normally cut off so that you can visually see that I'm cutting through all the folds. And this is, you can use this to wrap fat quarters in. I mean, look at the stretch. It's almost like elastic. Now, I'm very carefully going to turn it around. I don't want my edges to separate. And I like, as I've quoted before, I like 2.5-inch strips. So I'm going to find on my ruler. This is not a very good ruler to do this with. I should have my lighted ruler. I'm going to find my 2.5, just like this. All right, so again, cutting, let's do a refresher. You want to have your blade straight up and down, offset your body so that you're not angle cutting. You're going to start to cut straight up and down. Move your hand, and there's your 2.5. Whoop. Like I said, start with a fresh blade. There we go. Let's do another one. 2.5. There's your strips. Let's do another one. I'm going to work on some Christmas projects later, and I thought a beautiful red candy cane stripe. Whoop, see, my ruler moved. Let's line it back up. No big deal. I'll go all the way through. Yeah. One more. We're going to get one more. Now, you can continue on, but I'll show you why. You can continue on with this if you want, but I'm going to show you why I'm not going to. Well, I could get a couple more. Okay, but so far, these are nice, long pieces. Look how long those pieces are. And it's just because of the way we folded it. But look how even and nice all those stripes are coming out. Again, one long piece. So we have all of those. But now we're getting into the short pieces. But this is, see how much I have left? So you could do a couple of more, and I probably will. Let's just do a couple more just to show you. Make sure again now that your edges are still lined up. These are not too short yet. These are not too short. So we still have nice long pieces. When you get down to the pieces where they're only like this long, that gets to be kind of a pain, but there's always a place for these. You can put these on bands, tops of purses, cuffs for Christmas stockings. There's all kinds of uses for this. That's how you cut your bias binding. Easy peasy. I was watching, when I can't sleep, I watch YouTube videos, and I was watching all of these videos on how to fold for getting bias binding, and I'm thinking that they're having you go from point A and point B to point C and point D, and I'm going, I can't even do that. So this is super easy. You take your square fabric, fold it to the corner, create your triangle, and fold the ends in like a diaper. Okay, so now I have yards and yards of red and white bias stripe. So we'll see what comes in the future, what I use with this. All right, so those of you who have the AccuQuilt, you can actually cut your bias binding on your AccuQuilt. We did this once before and I screwed it all up, and Gabe says that's not going to work, and it didn't. So you're going to start with your rectangle, and this is going to create smaller pieces, but you will get some. And then you have to find, again, your 45 angle, because that is your true bias. Remember, straight of grain, cross grain, bias. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this corner up, and I'm going to fold this corner down. So the last time I did this, I simply tried to put it on the die this way, and it doesn't work. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this straight edge down to meet that straight edge. You see that? I'm going to fold this down to meet this, and you want to make sure that it's perfectly flat. So now I have this huge piece. See, there's your stretch. And I'm laying it on my die now. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my ends in. So actually I'm going to fold this in like this. And I'm going to fold this in like this so that you're beyond your blades. Now, when I cut, you're going to double check because last time I did it like the other way. And so I'm still wrong. So this is what we're doing. So we have to do it so that we make sure that this stretch is going on your die this way. So always double check. So there's 2 videos on the AccuQuilt website that shows you how to do this in great detail. So you can, I'm not going to cut these today. I just wanted to show that on your die you can do this. Easy peasy. Okay, so now we have all this bias made. What are we going to use it for? So I did up some samples yesterday. I just thought it would be really cute to show you. So I took some old blocks that I had laying around and I did a double binding. Now you can do this with bias or you can do it with regular binding. So I wanted to show you a fun binding. I took 2 pieces. This is a 2-color binding. People ask for this. So I took a 1.5 inches of one color and I took 1 3/4 inches of a second color. I've sewn them together and then you're going to press them so that they're laying really, really flat. So I press these so that they're laying super flat. I did use my Acorn Precision piecing pen to get it to lay really flat. And then what you do, once it's flat, let's do it. I don't have my pen here, but let's just do this. Okay, turn on. Give me a second. Give it just a second. Get this all ready to go. This is really cool. And you can use your binding third hand tool with this too. All right. It's not going to lay as flat as I like because I'm not using my Acorn, but you'll get the idea. Because I want to show you how to fold prairie points too. Okay, are we not heating up? There we go. There we go. All right, so once you've pressed it to one side, there's your binding. It's a little wider than normal, but you want it for this application. So now what I'm going to do is I'm folding my raw edges together. And see how you have that little bit of color? Can you see that, Gabe? There's a little bit of color here. It's like 1/16 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch. That's 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to hit it with the iron. So that's creating a built-in flange. So for those of you who don't like, my iron's not getting hot. Oh, it's because I'm unplugged. Oh, that would help, wouldn't it? This is the Saturday morning of events. No glasses, no power. All right, here we go. So now we have created a 2-color binding. See how cool that is? So what you're going to do now, I'm going to show you over here. I've made it in the Halloween colors. So here is my 2-color binding, just like this. There's that little mini flange. You're going to sew it onto your quilt. Let's take this out. Take these off. I'll show you really cool how neat this is. So then you're going to sew it on. Now the color, you want the color of the main binding down. So when you flip this over, this will be on this side. When you do your miters like I showed you last week for your 45 degree, this one's already sewn down. for your 45 degree, this is what you're going to get. Just lay those on. I'm going to just clip it for right now. But look how those miters line up. Hang on. Bend under and over. See? I didn't even fuss. And your little orange flange there is right in place. Here, let's just take that. Now, all you have to do is sew top stitch in this little groove here. You just top stitch right through there. So I took a couple of pins and I'm lining them up and pinning it so that I am missing the binding in the back. I don't know if you can see that. Does that show up, Gabe, where that pin is? Yep. Anyway, the pin is missing the binding. So when you sew in the ditch right along there, your binding will be invisible on the back. It'll be like you're stitching in the ditch on that little bitty flange. It does give you a little bit wider binding, but this is a decorative binding, and this is perfect for table runners and children's quilts and anywhere where you want that extra little pop of color. So I thought I'm going to go one step further because I've done this on a lot of different things. I thought, well, you've got your 2-color binding, did it just like the other way, but this time I've put a little rickrack underneath there. So all I did was cut some rickrack, lay it next to the edge of my project, and fold my binding over the top. And look how cute that is. If you were doing a child's quilt, or this would be pretty if you were doing a spring table runner where you wanted a little accent of green. And again, you're just going to stitch in the ditch all the way around, and you're going to get that really cute, invisible little seam. This wears really well too because it's done on your machine. So then I thought, well, let's show you how to do a prairie point. So these are prairie points. How do you make a prairie point? Okay, let's go over here for just a minute. I have just some simple little squares that were left over from a project. You're going to fold them in half. And yes, use your acorn pen. And then you're going to fold them in half again. Just like this. That's a prairie point. So now you make a bunch of these, and you start by putting them on the very edge of your project. I'm just going to do binder clips today to show you. Then you simply start layering them. So I'll lift this wing up and put it over the top, and it all depends how deep you put it, how much area you need to cover. So if I needed to cover a little more area, I may have stretched these out a little bit. If I wanted to pull them together, I could pull them together. So once you have those on there like this, I would use my glue, and then you're going to fold your binding right over the top, and it covers all those corners. I didn't have time to actually do a full thing today, but here's how it's going to look when you glue it and then you stitch it. So then you have, and this is really super cute, again, on any kind of a project. And all you've done is taken your scraps, you've made a few accent colors, and you've accented a project beautifully. So that's how you do your prairie points. Add a little rickrack. You can do these on table runners, placemats, children's quilts, adult quilts. You can actually just do a few in the corner. You wouldn't have to do a whole side. So your imagination and your creativity is what's going to make this really awesome.
So we had one question as to why would somebody use a bias binding versus a straight of grain binding?
Okay, that is an excellent question. Bias binding versus straight of grain. Your bias binding is going on the cross weave of your fabrics. It will wear a lot better than your straight of grain. How many quilts have you seen that have come in where the binding is starting to wear? It's all rubbed raw on the edges from use. It can't be helped. Your bias binding, I can't tell you percentages of how much longer it's going to last, but it's working against those cross fibers, and it's going to give you a much better wear. That's just for general purpose. If you're doing curves, you have to use a bias binding. You have to have that stretch to go around your curves. So if you wanted to take a quilt and make a rounded edge instead of a mitered edge, use a pie plate. Just cut your rounded edges, but you have to have, I use Gabe's, you can't see him, but he's going, oh yeah, I never thought of that.
That'd be cool.
I use pie plates all the time when I want to round an edge on a quilt because it just gives you, and I just rotary cut around it. So you stack all 4 edges, put your pie plate on, and around you go. Then you don't have to worry about these silly miters, right? So anyway, I hope that answers your question, but the bias binding does wear better. You have to use bias binding on curves or it will not lay flat. It will not go around your edges. You'll be gathering it instead of trying to make your scalloped edges lay flat. So if you're doing any kind of garment, you have to use a bias binding on a garment around the necks. It will wear 10 times better on your cuffs than a straight of grain binding will. It's because you're wearing it against double threads. Okay, we're running a little behind this morning. I hope that helped. And all right, everyone, we'll be here next week. I know we're running late this morning, but we have such a good time. Please try this. Just take a pot holder and try doing your 2-color. Again, the width of the binding is 1 3/4 and 1 1/2. And the 1 3/4 is the one that you want as the flange. That's wider. It'll make sense. I always get those mixed up and then I end up with something that I don't want. So 1 3/4 is the one with the flange. 1 1/2 is the other one. 1/4 inch seam to join them. Just give it a try because it's so much fun. I got carried away doing these last night and Glenn said, aren't you going to go to bed? You know, you have a video in the morning. So, okay, everyone, I could talk all day. Come in and see us. Gabe's laughing. You can't see him, but he's laughing because he knows it's true. So I'm wishing you all a wonderful week. Gabe?
Yep. Happy quilting, everyone.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.